Welcome to another quiet journey into the distant past. Tonight, we drift together through time, into the dusty alleyways, sun-baked hills, and incense-scented courtyards of a city both sacred and sorrowful, ancient Jerusalem. A place of prophecy and pilgrimage, empire and upheaval, where stones whisper stories and silence rests heavy at dusk. As always, our purpose isn't excitement, but immersion. Let the world grow soft around you. Let your breath settle. Let your muscles sink into the surface beneath you, and simply listen. In this hour, you'll travel as if you were there. Not as a great king or renowned prophet, but as a weary soul, walking worn paths, living a life made of dust and ritual, hope and hardship. We'll begin in the lower streets, amid the smells of oil and sweat, to understand what daily life might have felt like for a regular inhabitant of ancient Jerusalem. Later, we'll climb the hill toward the temple, and witness the fall of that sacred place through the eyes of those who saw it burn. We'll unearth a mystery hidden in copper and stone, and end our slow exploration in the cool, marbled shadows of the priestly elite. For now, close your eyes if you wish, and breathe with the rhythm of history. Let's begin where all lives begin, at ground level. Imagine yourself not as a modern traveler, but as a native of the holy city, sometime around the 1st century, before the fall, when Roman banners still draped across gates and the temple still shimmered in the sun. You are not a priest, not a scholar, just a laborer, perhaps a potter's apprentice, or a young mother, or a water hauler with cracked palms. You wake before the first rooster calls, not because you choose to, but because your body, hungry and conditioned, knows its rhythms. The light in your home is minimal. Your house is built of rough limestone, its roof flat, packed with mud and straw. There's no chimney, no glass windows. It's just small slits in the wall to keep out thieves, and in the summer, the relentless sun. The floor beneath your feet is cool, packed dirt. Your bed, likely a mat, shared with siblings, or a spouse, or a child. No privacy, no softness. And already, before dawn fully arrives, the air smells of smoke, fires lit in neighboring homes. A haze of ash and bread mingles with the musk of animals that sleep in courtyards or in corners of the home. Breakfast, if it can be called that, is simple. A piece of flatbread baked on a clay griddle, dipped in olive oil, maybe, or in a bit of sour wine left from the night before. Water, fetched from a communal cistern or nearby spring, is tepid, often cloudy, carried in heavy jars that must be balanced on shoulders or hips. Then begins the work. If you're a woman, your day revolves around grinding grain. A circular stone sits in the yard with your hands, and then your back. You press a smaller stone across it again and again. For hours, it is rhythmic and exhausting. You will make flour this way, enough for the day's meals, and maybe a bit to trade. If you are a man, you might be hauling bricks or carving stone. You may serve in a shop, bartering clay lamps or copper trinkets. If you are fortunate, you may work with your father in carpentry or weaving. Not, perhaps you are pressed into carrying goods for Roman merchants. The city is loud, and close. Narrow streets funnel sound upward, the bleating of goats, the bartering of vendors, the laughter of children, the sharp commands of soldiers, and always the temple. Rising above the skyline, golden and white, it dominates the air like a crown of reverence and tension. For some, it is hope. For others, it's a daily reminder of burdens of sacrifices required, tithes collected, sins exposed. The temple tax is not light, and the purity laws, they touch every part of your life. Your hands are not clean in the ritual sense. If your body bleeds or breaks or touches death, you are unclean, cut off, isolated. So even when you rest, you are cautious. When the sun reaches its peak, you might stop beneath an overhang, beside a fig tree, or under a linen awning near the market. And in that heat, thick and slow, you eat again. Perhaps dates, figs, olives, salted fish if you're lucky. Your fingers smell of oil. Your clothes cling with sweat. There is no real privacy. Not in the bathhouses, not in your home, not in prayer. Life is communal, okay? And yet, strangely lonely. At night, you may gather with neighbors on the rooftop. You listen for the sounds of the shofar from the temple. You hear the city exhale. Finally, you wonder if tomorrow will bring change, or just more of the same. And as you close your eyes on your coarse linen mat, you feel, perhaps, a certain peace, or a deep, aching tiredness. The rhythm of your life is unbroken, damned, but so very hard. Yes, it would be difficult for you, a modern soul, to last even a single day in ancient Jerusalem. Not because of violence or plague, but because of the slow, unending press of survival, of expectation, of devotion. Leave the lower streets behind and climb toward flame, toward history, toward a moment of ending. When you're ready, we'll begin segment 2. Let us now shift our gaze upward. The great city of Jerusalem, once bustling with worshipers, pilgrims, and weary tradesmen, becomes, in this segment, a city on edge, a city under siege, a city soon to be undone. And to understand this unraveling, we turn to one man's memory. His name was Josephus. Imagine, okay, you are Josephus, born Yosef ben Mattatyahu, into a wealthy priestly family. You were a precocious boy, curious, educated, drawn not only to the rituals of your people, but also to the wider world of Roman intellect and politics. In your early years, you traveled to Rome, argue with philosophers, study law and history. But soon, like many young men of your time, you were caught in the slow storm of rebellion. The Jews are rising against the might of Rome. And though you are not a firebrand, you are chosen to lead troops in Galilee, reluctant general, writing scrolls at night, directing defenses by day. The war is bloody, but more than that, it is consuming. Brother against brother, zealots against moderates, Jews against Rome, and often against one another. In time, you are captured. And now, your name changes. No longer Joseph, but Flavius Josephus, taken into the patronage of the Roman general Vespasian. You are spared oddly because you predicted that Vespasian would one day become emperor, and you were correct. So now, you serve Rome as a historian, a translator, a witness, and from a hill, you watch your city burn. It is the year 70 CE. The Roman legions, to the command of Titus, Vespasian's son, encircle Jerusalem. The city, already frayed from civil strife and famine, holds firm for months, but hunger spreads. Children cry without tears. The dead pile in courtyards in silence. Then the temple, that golden beacon, comes the last hope. You try to mediate. You send letters over the walls, begging the people to surrender. But inside, they resist. Zealots fight with fear. Others pray for divine deliverance. And then, one night, the walls are breached. Fires break out. The inner courts fall, and the temple is set alight. You are watching from a Roman camp. You hear the screams. Yes, you hear the shofar blow one last time. Stone cracks. Gold melts. Smoke coils upward, thick and bitter with incense, wood, flesh. The sacred place where generations poured their prayers is no more. You weep, but you also write. Years later, in a villa far from that ruined city, you dictate the words that will carry this story across centuries. Your histories, at once defensive and apologetic, are not without bias, but they preserve what the ash could not. You remember the man crucified outside the walls who warned of doom. You describe the tunnels where people hid like ghosts. You list in chilling detail the names of fallen priests. You capture not only the siege, but the soul of a broken people. And when you sleep in the Roman world, do you dream of the temple? Do you remember the smell of its cedar, the flicker of its lamps, or just the silence that came after Josephus? Priest turned rebel turned historian came the lens through which later generations would glimpse the final days of ancient Jerusalem. He survived, but perhaps part of him never left that hilltop, never stopped watching, never stopped listening. We will now journey deeper, not through war, but through earth and symbol. In our next segment, descend into the shadows of time, where scrolls lie hidden, and copper holds forgotten secrets. Now, let the fires of Jerusalem grow dim in your memory, and walk with me out of the city, beyond its ruined gates, beyond even the villages and the roads where sandals stir up dry dust. We travel east, toward the edge of a different world, to the cliffs of Qumran. Deep silence. Caves wait like open mouths. Here, long after Jerusalem burned, archaeologists would make a strange and silent discovery, a scroll. But unlike the others, not of parchment or papyrus. No, this scroll was made of copper, rough, rolled tightly, almost fused with time itself. And when it was first found in 1952, no one could unroll it without breaking it. Eventually, it was cut carefully into thin, vertical strips, and there, revealed in tidy columns of ancient Hebrew, was a list, a very long list, of treasures. Imagine reading it, slowly. 40 talents of silver. In the cistern under the stairs in the salt pit, 17 talents of gold. Buried in the third chamber, beneath the water conduit, gold vessels. It's in the cavity of the old house of tribute. It goes on and on, not in story form, not in metaphor, just item after item. Buried, locked away. In all, the scroll mentions over 60 separate caches gold, silver, sacred vessels, temple items. Together, the value would be staggering. Some scholars estimate many tons of precious metal, but here's the mystery. None of it has ever been found. None. Not a single hoard has been definitively matched to the scroll. So the questions deepen. Was it real? It's a record of temple treasure, hidden away before the Roman siege? Or was it symbolic? It's a ritual document, a list of hopes more than facts. Some believe it was written by the Essenza reclusive Jewish sect who lived near Qumran, who practiced purification, silence, and a radical commitment to righteousness. They copied sacred scrolls by oil lamp, stored them in jars, and watched the horizon for signs of the end. Perhaps they knew the Romans were coming. Perhaps they believed the temple would fall. So they made a list not just to preserve treasure, but to preserve meaning. Or perhaps the scroll was written to mislead, to inspire, to protect something else entirely. It contains no map, no clear starting point. And some locations are so cryptic at the place where the waters flow backward that even experts today can only guess. But still, from time to time, hopeful seekers descend into caves, armed with flashlights and dreams. They probe the stone for echoes. They scan the desert with ground-penetrating radar. They are not unlike the scribes who once etched those letters onto metal with small chisels and extraordinary care. Quiet, focused, patient, the scroll remains. Unreadable in spirit, even if deciphered in form, a riddle from a vanished world. A list of whispers, a catalog of silence, and maybe, just maybe, the treasures still sleep beneath the sand, waiting now. Let us turn our eyes once more toward the city, but not to the marketplace or the laborer's grind. In our final segment, we ascend to a very different experience of Jerusalem, life of the elite. And now, as dusk settles over the hills, let us rise above the dust, above the cramped courtyards and crowded alleys, above the chisels echo in the quarry, above the markets where worn hands clutched the thin coin. Let us step softly into the shaded courtyards of the upper city, into the homes of the elite. Imagine, you are no longer a water carrier or a baker. You are the daughter or son of a priestly household. Your home, built of dressed stone, is 2 stories high. It faces the sun and is cooled by breezes caught in the colonnaded walkways. Your sandals are leather, your robe, fine linen. You rise in the morning not to labor, but to learn. Your family is part of the Sadducene class, wealthy, aristocratic, tied to the temple's operation and Jerusalem's political life. The home is furnished with imported glass. Smooth mosaic floors echo softly underfoot. Water flows from a private cistern. There is even a ritual bath deep into the stone, where the waters shimmer quietly in stillness. Your meals are elaborate, flatbread, certainly, but baked on bronze pans, dates, figs, fresh herbs, wine, strong and fragrant, served in carved vessels. Meats, yes, roasted lamb, pigeon, fish, afford. Your family can afford offerings, and the temple Suniraways needs patrons. Kata, scribes, visit. Priests speak of sacred duties. Roman officers arrive on occasion, speaking Latin between mouthfuls, bringing news from Caesarea, and the conversation flows. Philosophy, law, politics. Do you support the Romans? Do you resist in secret? Some do both. The lines between loyalty and survival are thin in a city perched on a knife edge of revolt. As the city strains, your household grows cautious. Walls are reinforced. The cards are posted. Letters are written in code. When the uprising begins, the upper city becomes a kind of fortress. Some elite families flee, others stay, perhaps believing the chaos will pass. It does not. The siege comes. Even marble cannot stop hunger. You remember, dimly, the sounds of looting, colored sky, the Temple Mount glowing with smoke and gold. You hear your father praying, his voice low and unbroken, even when the gate is struck by a ram. Eventually, your family flees by a tunnel. But some do not escape. Years later, archaeologists will uncover these homes. B will find frescoed walls, smashed pottery, and the remains of quiet wealth now coated in ash. In one house, called the Burnt House, buried beneath layers of rubble, a young girl's arm will be found. Near it, an iron spear, and on a stone, blackened with fire, an inscription, Bar Cathros, a priestly family name. They will whisper of what might have happened there, not loudly, but with reverence, for even the wealthy could not buy time. Even the elite could not escape the tide. Yet their world was real and intricate and layered with the echoes of daily life, ritual and routine, privilege and fragility, comfort and the knowledge that walls do not always protect. Now we have walked the streets and the scrolls and the ruins. We have touched gold and ash, and time is nearly time to rest. And now, let the torches fade, the noise of ancient footsteps, the rumble of carts over stone, the distant cry of the chauffeur, all fall into silence. You have walked the streets of ancient Jerusalem, felt the coarse linen, tasted the dust, heard the hush of hidden treasure and the crackle of encroaching fire. It was a city of opposites, of ritual and revolt, of sacred rhythm and sudden ruin, of incense drifting upward and stone crumbling downward. It was not an easy place to live. The labor was constant, the faith demanding, the politics perilous. Whether you were a lowly worker rising before dawn to haul buckets of water uphill, or a child of privilege sitting beneath carved beams, hearing your father whisper fears of Rome, there was no real safety. Yet, in every crevice of that ancient world, there was structure, order, a daily pattern woven through hardship. And now, that pattern is broken, but its echoes remain. In the scrolls hidden in caves, in the stones blackened by siege, and the names carved faintly into foundation walls. Jerusalem of the first century lives on not in its gold or its glory, but in its remains, Tia, in what was buried, and in what was left behind. So now, as your eyes grow heavy, let your mind drift back through those winding streets, past the copper scroll, past the ruined house, past the Temple Mount. Now still, there is nothing more to carry, no more incense to burn, no walls to defend, only the breath of wind across stone, and the quiet of a city asleep. Good night, and thank you for walking this path through history.